I found a piece of copper pipe, bent it round and got that fitted in. For the muffler, I will use that, if I can get it in. There we go. What I'm going to do is, there's a mark there, so I will weld this washer at that mark so that it doesn't foul anything up. I'll weld the end of that up and drill heaps of holes in this, and then I will cut a small piece of this, weld that over it, put a washer on that end, and that will be a little muffler that will quieten it down a bit, and it will keep a lot of the heat away from that pipe. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do there. I'll carry on. There it is running. There's the muffler I made. I just put a bolt on the end of it, welded that on to give me something to tighten it in and out with. Copper pipe I put on there underneath it. So the next thing I got to do is pull this pump apart and see why it's leaking inside the shaft. Fitting an accelerator cable, it's got the clamp on the side there to hold the sheath, so this is just an old push bike one. So what I've done is I've cut an old piece of 25 by 25 on an angle, drilled a hole in it big enough for that, so I've got somewhere to lock the cable to. Now I will make a lever. I need to step it out a bit. The reason is I want to try and keep that as good an angle as possible, so I need it to sort of, if it's stepped out a bit, it'll give me a decent angle. So I'll cut this off, cut another piece of this off, weld it on there, and then I'll mount my arm off that. All I'm going to do for the lever is just have some flat bar there, and that'll act as my, as you can see. So I'll get into that and show you the next bit. That's that bit welded. Now I'll go and make the handle and the two brackets to hold that. These are my bits cut out, so I will bolt them together so that I know the bolt hole lines up, weld the two tags on, and then I will look at how long to make my handle, and we'll look at mounting. Handles are welded in. It's going to be a vibrating machine, so I need to use a lock nut on it. The issue is you can't weld to a lock nut, so I can't weld that on the back because it'll just melt all the nut, all what it's there for. So I found this. This is an old spark plug thingy that I've never used. I've had it for about 10 years, so I'm going to cut that off and weld that on the bracket over there, and that will give me a captive to tighten my nut in from the other side. Okay, so here's my lever made. You can see there's two bits of flat bar in there. This nut here is sitting, I cut the end off an old spark plug socket thing that I've had sitting there for years. Never used it, so I thought this would be good enough to use it. So what I did is I've welded it on here, and that acts as just a cage for the nut. I didn't want to weld the nut on in case it gets damaged or whatever, you know this what happens with nuts. and that just tightens in there and clamps on the arm. So yeah, I whack that in there, put that in, tighten it up. She tightens up, and the idea of having this lever on the side here to tighten it up like that and having this so it squashes tight is this is going to be used out on the farm, so it's going to get quite a hard life. I wanted it so that I could set the revs when I've got the pump going at the speed I want and then just lock it in place. And the vibration of the motor isn't going to move it and loosen it off. So the cable comes through, attaches to this. I'll probably just loop it through and just crimp a bit of copper pipe to lock it. But you get the idea. It's pretty simple and it's industrial for use out on the farm. That's locked in place. When you want to drop the revs or pick them up, pretty simple to make. And now I'm going to clean up scrap metal and finish doing the frame. Once all the frame's done, then I'm getting some seals sent for this. I don't know how dear it'll be. Hopefully it shouldn't be too dear. It's just a seal for the base of the shaft. So I'll get that done. This is the lock bolts that I was telling you before, just for putting tension on the fan belt and adjusting the motor out. It's just welded to that, and that's just adjusts it. So that's working well.